Alright, audience. I've come to bargain. You guys get to have this video on one condition. I want at least half of the top comments to be putting me on blast for a video that I just absolutely just crapped on that you thought was actually really good, but then undermine the whole thing by writing it in this really, scathing tone, like you're just prepared to make an argument out of it. Like, you remember when I said Square Off sucked? Just pretend I said something like that.
The future used to be a distant dream, but now it's closer than ever thanks to the brand new 2025.
Man, get this dog shit out of my face. Ads are inherently disrespectful to every experience in which they're involved, but I also don't want to pay for premium because I want this platform to have as little money as possible.
What do I do in this situation?
Just give it to me. Give me your money instead. I will gladly take it. You can enjoy adless, sponsorless uploads of every single video I make in the future, but I can also give you various art assets, tutorials, and I can even give you some modded set pieces we've used in past videos, like the chessboard and the Lane-Dell mental facility. Don't waste your money on subscription services. Give it to people who respect your time, like me. Want me to prove it? Watch this. Number 56. Top 15 optional bosses you missed in Elden. Alright, Jesus Christ. Okay, I think I just found my first big oversight. The intros for all these sections are going to be unnecessarily long, so I might just abridge each title and, flash up a thumbnail of whichever video I'm talking about. So I think 15 optional bosses can just cut it for this one. Retroactively, pretty impressed with myself here. All the bosses I tagged here were actually optional. This was made a little less than 2 weeks after the game released, so most average players didn't really know how loose the game's navigation actually was, and the barrier into Lane-Dell needing 2 shard bearers, I guess technically makes all the early to mid-game demigod bosses optional depending on when you encounter them, so good job, me. This is a single atom of silver lining that gets completely choked out and smothered by a city-rending shrapnel storm of some of the most head-dented takes on boss design, game navigation, and general game development all at once, aggravatingly paired with recycled one-liners, and then washed down with 19 minutes of hesitant voice work that made me sound like I was afraid of waking up my fucking mom. And I completely understand why. If there was easily searchable video evidence out there of me defending the valiant Gargoyles duo fight, I feel pretty insecure about myself too. The jokes are mostly misses, and the occasional hits are just recycled from other videos that predate this one. And this was one of the first Elden Ring videos I ever made after 5 consecutive years of Hollow Knight, so you better believe I had a goddamn bible of one-liners to go through. Boss rankings are on the more subjective side since you're not looking at numbers or motion values or anything, and I guess I just used that as an excuse to not put any effort into arguing why a boss is actually good, in my opinion, resulting in this generic IGN journalist adjacent writing cadence that forces its way through jokes like Arthur Fleck. There are just so many ill-conceived takes. The tree spirit? Who the fuck puts the tree spirit as one of the best bosses? It's not even the best tree boss. Is this even the same person as me at this point? Who wrote this? I don't know who this dude is and he pisses me off. Number 55, let's rank the Keepsakes, or known by its alternative title, Fuck It, let's rank the Keepsakes, or known by its auxiliary alternative title, Fuck It, let's rank the Keepsakes. I don't know how this video managed to stay afloat for so long without getting flagged by something, but whatever earnings I clawed from this video, I certainly don't deserve. Everything about this video just feels so sloppily thrown together. There's no intro attached. The video immediately leads into a sponsor for some generic-looking mobile game I can't be fucked to remember the name of. The cracked pots get ranked last just because I said Kale gives you 3 of them out of the gate, completely and conveniently ignoring that you can hold up to 20, but the same argument isn't afforded to the Crimson Amber medallion despite it being in the middle of the list. The Stone Sword keys climbed all the way to the summit of the list because it opens up Fringe Folk and the subsequent 59 deaths you're gonna get from being massively underleveled for it. The voiceover sounds like it was done in my fucking bathroom. The only visual assets I made for it was a PNG next to the item's title written in a horribly mismatched font. The thumbnail is just embarrassingly lazy. It's not even 13 minutes long, and this piece of shit somehow got almost 500,000 views. Number 54 and 53. Y'all mind if I rank some Elden Ring weapons? It was short, it was a bad excuse to use a title I still thought was funny, and I guess it's still pretty funny, I guess. This was also my opening foray into a newly popular thumbnail layout that involves a weapon on one half of the image and some large foreboding entity on the other, accompanied with an impossibly large damage number, but not actually impossibly large because then people will know it's bullshit. Man, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm wearing my headset too tight or something and it's fucking up my audio, but why does every video pre-2023 sound like I used my mic to clean a grill grill right before recording. Most of these choices here are just really safe picks, shit I knew people wouldn't disagree with because this is still very early into doing Elden Ring content. Reduvia, Bloodhound Fang, and people were still using the Ice Rhine Hatchet for speedruns. Yeah, this shit was like ancient times. But apparently I liked this title in thumbnail format enough to use it twice in a row after 1.03 came out that introduced a host of new arcane weapons, almost all of which had to be immediately nerfed, where I exaggerated so hard that I accidentally made one of the most egregious statements of all time, which was that the Moonveil had been high-powered jackhammered into the ground and is now one of the shittiest weapons. Now, I gotta be careful here with how I frame this, because if I'm not admitting complete and total wrongdoing to the point of public self-flagellation, that just won't be enough for some people, and I get that, I get why. But this was actually meant to be an exaggeratory line. Of course I didn't think the Moonveil was a shitty weapon. I do think it's boring, uninspired, and overrated, but in this case, it's not so much getting the information wrong as much as it was my writing style just hinging really hard on exaggeration and spectacle, because for the longest time, I felt like I needed those things incorporated somewhere in a script for it to be funny, and even after a literal decade of script writing and doing videos, I guess the monkey brain still just wins out every now and then. Number 52, he's ranking the Evergaols. Admittedly, this was during an extensive time of low activity within the community where the DLC hadn't quite been announced yet, but the game's spectacle was still beginning to wear off for most veteran players. So a lot of this video just ended up coming off as really bitchy and ungrateful, which I completely understand because I'm an ungrateful bitch. Evergaols in Elden Ring consist entirely of duplicate, homework copying shitheads, their existence justified by the item they drop upon defeat. It's the closest thing I think FromSoft will ever get to selling loot boxes, where instead of paying for a battle pass, they just throw you into the ring with a lion on PCP and tell you to go kill it. The thumbnail practically gave away all my feelings instantly upon first glance before even watching the video. Feelings I still cling to somewhat. I'm a little older now, and one of the first things you learn about approaching 30 is that being a bitch takes energy you may not have every day. I think the only opinion I'd still defend to my last breath is my radical loathing of Chodefroy and the miserable series of circumstances that led to his functioning vital organs. I've dunked on this dude so many times it could fill a compilation video, but I think the summation of my feelings towards Godefroy here can just be this. It's okay to write a second draft. That's all I'm saying. Number 51, he's ranking the Elden Great Runes. What the fuck? What is this title? Did I have a stroke? I don't remember the circumstances for why I wanted to make this video, or why I thought it would be a good idea for that matter. This video topic was short enough to be its own community post, but I guess rent went up that month and I needed to think of something fast. This video is 7 paragraphs long, minus the beginning segment, which is literally just 20 seconds of me talking about how tired I am. And I guess that can be funny sometimes in scripts if it's written a certain way, but in this video specifically, I straight up sound like I've stared death in the face. I think there's like one good joke towards the beginning where I say something about a rune and there's like a visual joke there that uses this NSFW Ronnie art we found. I thought that was pretty funny. The last two get ranked together for the ease of comparing them directly, which I think is something longer videos might benefit from, but this shit is barely 12 minutes long. The recording is as toilet plungingly mediocre as it's ever been, and it's just a video that really never needed to exist. Like, there's only 7, so if you accidentally use one that's bad, then, I don't know, just use another one, I guess. It's not like it'll take you hours to make a decision or anything. Number 50, the 1.04 Talisman Ranking. I really just thought I had shit to do back then, huh? 8 minutes? And that wasn't even me trying to put mid-rolls on. I was trying to make the intro shorter for fuck's sake. I just can't read the goddamn thumbnail. Like, what is this? I see the 2 icons. I see the video game title in the top left, like I'm afraid my audience might get confused into thinking they're watching Daddy 05 or some bullshit. The timestamps are all fucked up because if I remember correctly, this video just wouldn't accept them for some reason. And look, I know making jokes at YouTube's expense is a common tactic people use here to just farm claps and good graces, but for the love of fucking hell, the number 8 is right there. Just give it a timestamp. You're a bot. This is literally supposed to be your entire job. Can someone explain to me how this can happen? I don't know. It's an oldie, I guess, but it's one of the only list videos with an over 99% like ratio, so I'm gonna piss someone off by ranking it here, I guess. Number 49, ranking the 1.07 patch notes. We're finally at a point in time where ranking the game's patch notes might actually be a decent video, because a lot of these decisions either didn't stick around for long or are just flat out unnecessary. No reason why this should have been a list. In fact, it's not even a tier list. It's just a list of facts about 1.07 that talks about separate PvP scaling and some of the more popular sections that were kicking up a storm, like Spear Call Ritual getting buffed and Sword of Night and Flame making a diabolic return after its 5 patch streak of worthlessness. skills. Some weapon skills got extra hit detection on its weapon part, shit with guard penetration happened. I mean, I don't know, it's 1.07. People talked about it for a while. No one even cared that the title obviously said ranking as though it were to count down from a certain number to 1, and I feel like I got away with that a little too easily because, once again, the like percent is extraordinarily impressive for such a short video, and one that doesn't even have proper timestamps because I was convinced a video this short just didn't need them. Actually, that might be why I didn't put them on the Talisman video too. Well, at least these are correct. Mostly. Number 48. Whatever, let's rank the Spirit Ashes. No timestamps, 15 minutes long, sponsor at the very beginning instead of leading into it with an intro or something. And I could have made that thumbnail actually in my sleep. Like, without exaggeration, you could have monitored my involuntary hand movements during an REM cycle of sleep and wired them to a mouse and keyboard with Photoshop open, and I would have made something better than that. At least I would have made something more interesting, I think. It may not result in a better impression rate, but it'd probably be funnier to look at. Some of the choices here are a bit wonky in hindsight, but I think most of them check out. I was specifically going for an underrated theme with this one, which explains the appearance of the demi-humans and the Crystallian. The visual assets here are just boring. I think this was another video I made without the help of an editor, which is why around the beginning of 2023, you'll see the visuals reach this very noticeable spike, but it's literally just words with a drop shadow effect. Like, the footage itself isn't even outstanding either. Almost entirely B-roll of various fights I had with the summon I'm talking about, and I guess the camera work is a little fun on the intro slate since I had to reposition myself a few times to get the spirit to appear right in front of the camera, but everything else about it really puts into perspective how lucky I was to receive 1 million views on this, because a random Joe Schmo could have easily beat me to this video topic with slightly better editing and my channel probably wouldn't exist. Number 47. Oh god, he's ranking the Elden Ring weapons again. That really wasn't supposed to be a reality. Man, I sincerely hope not a single person took any advice from this video. I still get shit for saying what I did about Square Off when one of my first Elden Ring videos have me saying the Zamor Curve Sword and Scepter of the All-Knowing were 2 of the most underrated weapons in the game. Nox weapons are kind of poo-poo too, so no idea what they're doing on here. I'm still using a fucking Doomsday Bunker as my base of operations, judging by the audio. Not even 12 minutes long, no visual assets aside from a hastily thrown together PNG item title combo. There's an invalid Discord link in the description that leads to nowhere. Just, Jesus Christ, man. The Scepter of the All-Knowing in top 10 underrated weapons. This got 720,000 okay, one of y'all should have just falsely accused me of something. Holy shit. This has like the 3rd highest like percent on the channel. Number 46, ranking the Nightreign character skills. Anything that needs to be done by a strict, albeit self-imposed deadline is begging to be made fun of 6 months later with its comment section flooded with 57 different iterations of "This aged like something that ages poorly." Bitch hasn't even come out yet, and I just know at least like a third of that video was wrong. Like, there's just no way, right? Barely 9 total hours of gameplay without any modding resource assistance, and half that time was spent either getting my nuts kicked back to the menu screen, or a random DC forcing a 2-player troop that could barely last the first night. Literally within hours of that video launching, I had numerous comments already telling me about some bullshit Whirlwind can do against Deathblight Clouds and Poison Mist that I just didn't know. The only truly accurate information I'm 100% confident in is that Restage is a bag of bullshit and will need to be nerfed at least 3 times at some point. This happens every single time a new game comes out, where I just accept half the info is going to be full of crap and passively acknowledge it later on in a completely separate video, like this one. Like, how the fuck do you people figure this shit out in like 2 days? Number 45, 10 enemies that piss me off. Title gets some points for the word piss and still getting monetized, but this whole video is just a big ol' shoulda done better. The script still contains trace amounts of fake acting and that classic YouTube timbre of speech you hear from every other YouTuber, you know, like that kind of thing. Apparently I thought the Claymen were just the most contemptible pests on the planet. Crabs got a spot on the list, but the prawns and their 29,000 PSI jizz cannons didn't even get an honorable mention, and Revenants took first place despite healing incantations acting as a timeless, tried and true Revenant repellent for the whole game. I don't know, Rune Bears and Prawns absolutely deserved a spot. They could have easily replaced the Claymen and the Crabs, but I think most of the others were sensible enough. I guess the Academy Sorcerers are annoying enough if they're all grouped up in one of their easily identifiable gossip sessions, and they all aggro on you at once without you realizing. But this was just a result of me not playing the game as much as I should have at that point. I actually think I included 1 or 2 of these specifically just because I thought of a funny joke and wanted to say it. Oh, and still no timestamps, I guess. What the fuck? What is your excuse at this point, dude? Holy shit. Number 44, ranking all 36 side quests. The only thing I really accomplished here was just remind everyone how largely disinterested I was in anything to do with this game's lore. I mean, it wasn't technically on the misinformation side of things, where what I was saying would have actively fucked up a quest or prevent you from getting certain rewards, but just little mistakes on the finer details, like saying Gowry turned into a rot servant when killing him instead of him being one all along. I completely skip over the fact that FromSoft added a way to remain completely offline and still do Vari's quest. I said the Kenneth quest was needed for Nefeli, and it's just not. And I think a few people may have been pissed off at me for ranking the Jar Baron so low. I was ranking the quests, okay, not the actual NPCs themselves. Whatever, who cares? I'm over it. A little more direction would have helped this one out, I think. I was torn between wanting to rank the rewards for each quest and ranking the dialogue, progression, whether or not it made sense, and I just split myself completely down the middle and ranked a bit of everything, significantly more poorly than I would have had I just stuck to a single mission. Number 43, ranking all 19 maps. Man, I don't know what to tell you. I was just bored as shit. I can tell just by the date of upload that I did this video solely and specifically because I was in a rush to fart out as many video topics as I could before the DLC came in and validated them all. This is where the one-liners start to get a little more nuanced in ways that contain actual subject matter and a punchline instead of just, this sorcery sucks so much fuck it farted on a dick or something. At least that's what I sound like to a few of you, I suppose. This is another split down the middle scrotum shredder of a decision that had me ranking not only the layout of the land and the map's ability to convey information, but also the bosses, items, and all the other goodies contained therein, which I think just really made things way too hard on myself. No matter the context, I just can't stop myself from incorporating all the main attractions of something, like bosses or spells, into a ranking, because I'm convinced people are just gonna hate it otherwise. And maybe it's just time I got myself the hell over that. Number 42, oh god, he's ranking the caves. That thumbnail on this video is synonymous with a turd and gift wrap. I remember thinking that was one of my better thumbnails too. I was proud of how that one turned out, and it was sure to get attention because I would always bitch about why two Estelles didn't make sense, and then thinking the explanation was bullshit once I heard it. And just, what did it give you? A poorly edited 45-minute movie with a sort of funny intro and a mixless audio barrage of me shouting at my mic from the other side of the room. The older videos are unfortunately going to suffer from this quite frequently. Actually, now that I think of it, some of the older videos didn't even have this problem at all. I've only went through one other microphone since, and it was the exact same one I purchased previously, so I don't know, this might just be an anomaly with no rational explanation. Oh, and that lower third sucks too. I don't even remember where I got it from, but it better have been free. Number 41. Y'all mind if I rank the Catacombs? And I'm just gonna throw this one right into the hallway of forgotten projects and dulled ambitions right next to the cave ranking. Seeing how it contains the exact same lower third preset, the exact same joke pacing and writing cadence that's made all the more insufferable by the exact same audio recording oversight that's been plaguing my totally spotless discography for months now. The only good that came from it was being reminded I sarcastically mentioned a challenge for people to upload videos of them no-hitting Godfrey with one of the game's ass attack ashes, and someone actually took it seriously and ended up doing it, so that was a fun memory to look back on. I don't know what would have been the better play here, business-wise. Keep this and the cave ranking separated for when I eventually entered the milking stage and ran out of ideas, or compile them into one giant video and harvest the bounty from the extra watch time. Am I really having the old burst damage versus DOT argument with my own fucking YouTube videos? God damn it, get a grip. Number 40, ranking all 91 Ashes of War. Square off was fucking 82. Okay, so it's time for a little bit of insight into how I used to organize large lists of material. Back in the primordial soup of Elden Ring content, before I had an editor and before I gave a fuck about Google Sheets, I would always start with the top and bottom 5, which were almost always easy decisions. Bloodborne Ritual, Stormblade, White Shadow Lure, Skyshot. General opinions on those are pretty straightforward. And then I would just slowly crawl my way into the center. I kept making decisions that hinged on overall utility and not point-blank damage or poise break, which would ultimately lead to Square Off getting pushed further and further down into the barrel. And then at some point, I guess I just changed my approach mid-video and started favoring these skills more, which is why Unsheath and Wild Strike still made top 10, despite only being basic bitch ashes that are found on nearly every starting weapon of a certain category. If I were doing weapons, the obvious thing to do here would just be to rank all the categories individually and then make the list from there, but I can't really do that here. Ashes are a bit more multifaceted. You can rank them by wet blades, I guess, but you'll still be comparing support ashes with weapon ashes with shield ashes, and it's just like, I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you want me to say? I'm sorry, I fucked up. Number 39, ranking all 91 Talismans. There's been an ongoing trend with some of the first videos of the feature film length variety that's becoming increasingly annoying the more I run into it. Timestamps without titles. No, the timestamps are absolutely there. Just the numbers though. Nah, you don't get to see the title. You gotta subscribe to Rusty Premium to get that shit. I legitimately don't remember why I even did this. Well, if you never liked it either, then you officially have the last laugh, because researching for current lists using what I said in past videos just results in me getting fucked over by my own bullshit. What do you mean I have to look for the section I want? If you were a regular viewer of my channel during 2022, I feel like that should come with its own special tax write-off or something. Number 38, ranking all 16 Crucible Knights. The pre-DLC boredom is dripping from this video so abundantly that it's affecting the PCs of everyone that watched it. The Crucible Knights? Who gives a shit about the Crucible Knights? What, do I have to rank all 17 of them in a follow-up now just because Devonia exists? This was just supposed to be a shitty joke. Boredom was literally the punchline, and people with less to do than me still took it seriously.
Why wasn't the one in Lanedale dead last?
Go tongue fuck a light socket, that's why. Number 37, ranking all 47 gestures. When was this video made again? December 13th, 2023. Ah, yep. Okay, that explains it. Okay, so this month gave me a lot of time for introspection because not only was I about to endure a 6-month-long dry spell of basically no content, except whatever list of random shit I hadn't turned into a video yet, but I was also finishing production of the giant 2-hour, 40-minute-long Herculean duty of ranking every single weapon in the base game. So I was running on empty for a while, and I don't think it showed any clearer than in this exact video. If you were just going off of the title, knowing what I usually upload, what do you think would have been the main purpose of this video? To have fun, right? To take a goddamn break. No math, no number crunching, no having 5 tabs open at the same time acting like I'm working on something, just a 47 paragraph long anthology of comedic trailblazing, and god damn it, it was none of that. It was just a classic workaholic tries to take a vacation meme. I got so immersed into my own bullshit that I was actually trying to make legitimate arguments once I was deep into the 20s. Like there's some objective hierarchy involved in your sitting position while a troll prepares to use your femur as a toothpick. Number 36, he's ranking the Elden Ring DLC weapons. Yeah, just another victim of my get shit out quick while it's relevant attitude that's been permeating my approach to content for 9 years. Nothing to see here, really. Most of the calls I made were pretty accurate. The unique skill on the Sunflower Blossom being the war crime that it is hasn't really changed, at least to my knowledge. Sword Lance and Flowerstone Gavel have become 2 of the most overused weapons of all time, despite the Gavel's weapon art still being glitched, and the Death Knight Long Half Axe is the Death Knight Long Half Axe. But there was scientifically, empirically provable bullshit advice that I just handed out in this video like free samples at Costco. I feel like even though the pole blade of the bud did get better after a while, it's still kinda dishonest to say it was a good call at the time because this halberd was, it was kinda poopy for a while. And god damn it, I hope not a single person was listening to me when I came up with anything positive to say about this piece of shit. I would rather charge into battle using my own 2 Nikes as fist weapons. I did rewatch it and I thought the bit about the Rain of Fire still not getting patched at that point was kind of funny, but the intro also dragged on quite a bit, especially considering I was once a renowned master of the 5-second intro battle art. Number 35, ranking all 70 sorceries. If you ask people what they want, they rarely ever give an honest answer. They'll either tell you they want something new and fresh and exciting, or they tell you to go back to the way you were doing things once they realize just how creatively vacuous the world has become. This is the main reason why the tier list has managed to stay in power after so long, and it was this exact video that opened my eyes to this. It's an easy watch, it makes for a nice and streamlined editing process that can be as complex or as lazy as you want, and even if you fuck up the research and list something where it shouldn't be, the engagement spike from people calling your bullshit just tricks YouTube into thinking people like you anyways. And those comments get immediately drowned out by a tsunami of new viewers who just like hearing your moderately deep voice while they try to sleep. A lesson very quickly and effectively beaten into my head after production of the 70 Sorceries ranking. The 70 Sorceries ranking shows that as long as everything you're saying is vaguely correct, a massive population of people will always return to it just for background noise when they're doing something else. Because there's absolutely no fucking way in goddamn shitting hell this got 3.5 million views because the jokes were funny. Number 34, ranking all 13 DLC Sidequests. Every time I venture into the tantalizing land of Sidequests, I'm quickly reminded that Sidequest videos are among my least favorite to write, capture footage for, and just generally produce overall. And I think that showed here in a way that was a bit more obvious than I wanted it to. And while I thought it would be funny to approach the entire video with a cynical personality that emphasizes the liberties half these Sidequests take with wasting the player's time, a cynical approach with subpar joke writing just makes you sound like you fucking hate yourself. Being the average viewer, I'm sure you can only hear the same 5 insults regurgitated so many times before you start thinking YouTube's autoplay took you to a modern AVGN video or something. And I'd wager that, combined with an impatient antipathy towards FromSoft's idea of a quest line being more of a quest connect the fucking dots you bastard, didn't do the writing quality any favors. Number 33, ranking every crystal tier. Not all 37 crystal tiers, every crystal tier. Very, very different. This was a video that felt incredibly awkward watching back because this was one of the only times where I actually fully surrendered myself into memehood and made a definitive tier list. Like with... okay, not a tier list either. I get that was a joke people made about the video specifically, but no, like a tier list with actual tiers from like S to F, and I like that kind of tier list. I would now like to permanently disavow this particular style of ranking because I've always preferred numerical lists over a grading rubric. This did, however, come with one massive benefit that not even most of my earlier content had, which was actual fucking names on the timestamps, made with real English words, and not just a number that vaguely conveyed the content of the relevant section. So that's 1 point for the crystal tier video, I guess. Number 32, ranking all 23 DLC Remembrances. You'll often notice an incredibly common failing of mine, which is my inability to keep up with patch notes and balance adjustments in a way that's cohesive. More specifically, I would have somehow heard about this one very particular change to a certain item that sounds like a big deal, and without actually testing out how it works in practice, just make an assumption that it deserves to be bumped up a couple notches on the list for like no reason. All while somehow glancing over like 15 other notes that are just overall more important. And I think this is what happened with Rotten Butterflies. It's still not that great, but it's more serviceable than ever before thanks to uptunings in hyper armor and status buildup. Sadly, I guess FromSoft didn't CC my name onto the fucking email, and this ignorance just continued up until it permeated the script for this video. I'm honestly kind of thankful this happened because not only did I start using the spell more and end up liking the changes, I also had lots of fun reading comments like this one that accused me of cutting clips in a certain way that reinforced opinions I previously had. Dude, if you wanted to talk shit, you could have just made fun of me for not having all the info. But the way you wrote this implies that I was 100% aware of the recent buffs, but still just decided I wanted people to think the spell was shit. Like I'm out here disseminating propaganda pieces against pink particle effects or something. Number 31, ranking all 45 body buffs. I swear I need a vacation from some of you motherfuckers. Either that or there might be exposed asbestos somewhere in my office. Because I think I finally arrived to the point where I've just started to outright just forget to acknowledge certain details about a certain skill or spell or whatever the hell. Okay, listen, I know Howl of Shabriri can boost all damage types. I was trying to keep things a little brief, okay? That's something I've said in multiple videos, so of course I know that's what it does. I get wrapped up in explaining something else every so often, you know? And it's a conviction I stand behind nonetheless, because it still needs 33 faith, it still doesn't last as long. I said like 6 other things in that sentence. Number 30, ranking every armor set in fashion. What the fuck are these timestamps? Oh, sorted by alphabet. Okay. So I guess I couldn't have been bothered to list out all the armor sets one by one, but then the timestamps don't show up anyways. So like, so what was the point? Lots of classics came from this one, like me comparing the malformed dragon set to a Belgian waffle, or saying the character's head poking out of the Exile Knight's hood makes you look like a fucking turtle. But whatever smarmy wit and whimsy I'm flaunting around is completely disgraced by the voiceover audio sounding like I'm yelling through a roll of gift wrap. Sucks too, because I had some damn good observations in this one. And so did the comments, honestly. I personally think the thumbnail could have been a little stronger, but when you end up seeing the same iterations of that exact thumbnail on other videos years down the road, I think that's just YouTube's way of saying you did a good job. Number 29, ranking all merchants. This pseudo tier list phase on my channel, I guess, lasted way longer than I thought. Can't believe I legitimately entertained going in this direction for such a long time, because my headcanon has me believing I did this shit for like one video and then just immediately stopped, because I couldn't handle the stigma of being called a tier list channel, even though that's exactly what I fucking was. And am, unfortunately. Microphone quality is okay. Voice quality took a pretty glaring hit to the old solar plexus, because I can tell just by listening to myself I decided to record 3 3 other scripts that day, but the concept of ranking the inventories of all the merchants actually ended up being a pretty fun comparison exercise. It's definitely the only video where a Zweihander and a note from your mom appear in the same video, so that's one broken record. Number 28, ranking all 115 consumables. Right around here was where the whole writing the same script and running through the same jokes sort of thing started getting very cognitively draining. I will say though, I think I've mastered the clever art of the phone-in, because as long as you're not speaking in that standard, easily recognizable YouTube commentator cadence that so many people pick up on, I think most viewers are just happy to hear what a normal fucking person sounds like. The audio peaks in certain spots, especially near the beginning, but that's just me being hyper anal, I think. Video's fine, I guess, I don't know. I waged war with the Rainbow Stone Gang and advocated for a string bell bearing all in the same video, so even though I don't consider it our finest work, I like to think it's done more good than bad. Number 27, ranking all 42 DLC bosses. This one both surprised me and didn't surprise me at the same time. It wasn't surprising because after ranking Bale where I did, I expected a fine bros amount of backlash. Like, I would have expected less of a fuss if I attempted to legally copyright Elden Ring tier lists. But it was also surprising to see just how many different opinions can exist in a single comment section once you take away all the numbers and measurements and whatnot. As I would soon discover, without Smithbox and Anim Studio there to help me crunch my old data, my opinions have about as much integrity as your average homeless man in New York City trying to wipe his ass with his own shirt. But the production value is still nice, seeing how it's one of the more recent lists on a channel that's been doing Elden Ring content for almost 3 years now. Ranking the demi-human swordsman over Bale is some Disney villain shit, like that kind of decision you would make deliberately and exclusively to test people's fucking patience with your dumbass. And the best part is, I don't regret a single sentence I typed. I may look at the peak cinema produced by Bale's fight thinking of him as though he were my firstborn son. I just didn't want to spend 18 years of my life raising the little shit gutter. A metaphor that depicts my opinion on dragon fights with hilariously unintentional accuracy. Number 26, ranking all 18 Staves. Some of the jokes land, and some of them don't. Whenever I vigorously start farting numbers from my mouth like a 9-year-old, sometimes there's a table to accompany it, and sometimes there isn't. Might have misrepresented the Gelmir staff a tiny bit due to it being another demi-human staff situation where its scalability sees lots of benefits during the mid-game, but it still can't even touch the Academy staff in terms of straightforward scaling, and there's no reason why you shouldn't use the demi-human staff anyways, because that rotten fence post is just one 5-minute Sunday drive to the forest ruins and then you're set all the way up until Altus. I don't regret giving the Gelmir staff a nice tongue lashing, but I'm also willing to admit the landscape has changed drastically since then. That Dread Talisman has me giving that plastic toy scepter some funny looks that could be considered physically objectifying. Number 25 and 24, how to use all 14 sorceries and 28 incantations. Admittedly, the writing was a bit on the lazy side simply because I just knew the excitement of a new ocean of content to explore would hold us over for at least a year, and it's been... how long has it been? Been 8 months. It's been 8 months and I'm already sad again. The information is mostly correct. Can't think of too many snags I ran into with this one. Broke down the damage of impenetrable thorns in a way that I thought was easily understandable and then successfully hypothesized exactly how it would get nerfed. Also included brief single sentence guides on how to get each spell before rocketing into some one-liner about throwing a purple globe up somebody's ass or whatever the fucking hell I said. Probably said scatter tree at least once somewhere in one of these. I don't remember exactly where, I just know what happened. Number 23, ranking all 39 DLC Talismans. I can't take full credit for that thumbnail since Lost was actually the guy who gave me the idea, but every time I use the whole format of someone's community message getting ratioed, it always does well. Maybe that needs to become the new standard. I just remember getting all the footage, properly demoing each talisman, even showed half of them in the menus, all accompanied with a fun little intro graphic that's been the channel's standard for a while now. And then I remember people might be grateful if I showed the location of each talisman as well, realized how much extra footage I would have needed, and consciously decided, nah. I put the effects up in the top corner of the screen. I think that's enough user-friendliness for one video. This was also around the same time the cool in-screen and bullet effects plus random voice line from highly respectable character templates started making its way into the rotation, which a lot of people have liked and have really pressured me to stick with, so you're welcome. Number 22, ranking all 42 DLC spells. No particular points of disagreement or contention come to mind here. It's just magic spells. Spells on a list. It's a Rusty video. I'm sure he's fucking proud of it. Number 21, ranking all 101 Incantations. Anything that breaches the hour threshold in terms of length just immediately earns a spot in the top half of the list. I don't care how many people thought I was wrong to place Bloodflame Talons at 84. I don't care how correct those people were in hindsight. 69 minutes of content to 69 minutes of content. Speaking of hindsight, lots of questionable choices were made on this video that I don't even think most people cared about. Like Fire's Deadly Sin being dangerously close to Black Flame's protection, despite one of them having infinitely more utility, or the DLC just flat out fucking up the placement of half the lineup in a way that renders the video all but completely informationally inaccurate. Burn of Flame feels weird in first place and probably should have been usurped at some point by its runner-up, and Black Flame just isn't as strong as it used to be. I guess that's the price that comes with doing content on a continuously updated game, but all it's really done is give the introductory line for this exact video infinite staying power. I feel like FromSoft and I are in constant competition to see who can make each other look like the bigger idiot. And I'm losing. I've always lost. Number 20, ranking all 80 DLC skills. It is an arcane mystery to me how this thumbnail managed to gather the attention of over 800,000 people. Look at how much bloat there is on the left-hand side of the screen here. You don't need 8 separate icons to communicate that you're ranking the ashes, fuck's sake. On the bright side, I've been steadily fattening up my roster of Elden Ring content for over 2 years at this point, and I apparently just figured out how timestamps are supposed to work. I spent an entire paragraph making fun of Moonrathil's bitch ass in such an emphatic way that I may have accidentally given FromSoft a new NPC idea, and I've reminded people just how lazy I am with my intros whenever a sponsorship isn't involved. It's almost as though people are huge fans of their fucking time not being wasted. Rusty, you bitch. Number 19, ranking all 37 Crystal Tiers. After almost 3 years of doing the same things ad nauseum, it does feel comfortable to finally pin down a niche. Find a list of objects, rank them individually using in-game data and values as research to support your arguments, and as long as you're either 1, right, or 2, funny, everything makes up for itself and nobody questions your decisions. It's pretty awesome, actually. Most of the research here, for example, is fine, but because of the carefully curated selection of facetious jokes and hyperbolic language, very few people even caught on to the fact that I incorrectly described how to get the Purifying Crystal tier, and that you don't even need to complete Yura's quest to get it. Either that, or everyone was too busy staring at the conveniently in-focus washboard array I had going on just above the belt. For 3 years, the only significant evolution has been rotating weapon cards and 3D models of listed objects, and even those don't appear in every single video. Like I said, Rusty Premium, it's going to be available soon. Number 18, ranking all food items. No number this time, apparently, but my god, that thumbnail should be framed on a disc plate. I spent so much time finding the exact lineup of items with the prettiest color palette, risking copyright infringement by boldly stealing the likeness of Colonel Clusterfuck himself, even making a funny little logo edit. It's just, Jesus Christ, that text warping is one of the laziest god-awful travesties to have ever crawled out of my brain folds and onto a digital canvas. Imagine if a fast food place sold you a container of something with an error this egregious on it. I wouldn't even be mad. I think I'd laugh for like 2 seconds and then just get insanely depressed because I just realized I ordered KFC for some reason. The info's good. Most of it's pretty agreeable, I think. This one had some zingers in it, I guess. Delivery had the enthusiasm of a snail in a wheelchair, so that's a shame, but some of you might have found that even funnier, so. Number 17, ranking all 25 bows. Alright, this is the official beginning of Rusty Premium. A surprising amount of work went into this one, and I completely forgot about it just because I made a passing glance over the video's duration and assumed I was just taking a vacation or something. This might be the only time in the channel's history an item description has received its own visual graphic, featuring a 20-second run-on sentence about how those responsible for the assault on Volcano Manor had their shit pushed in from their own incompetence of not knowing how a fucking gun works. This also came with an individual 3D model of each bow my editor made in Blender, which were then quickly replaced by these fancy rotating weapon model templates because they both looked snazzier and took less effort. I wonder how many people have actually used that resource pack we made. Number 16, ranking all 31 magic types. This is the second, less enjoyable iteration of a video I've previously made that involves a quick sketch that to this day might be some of my best work. Much like how I would offer commentary on something that got power crept in the base game, this list is but a shadow of an older piece of history that trumps everything it tries to do. However, there are still a couple positives. The B-roll footage isn't just me firing at nothing in someone's expensive library, but actually using them out in the open against real targets. The intro graphics also exceed anything I could have made by myself 2 years ago, so we've got an editor to thank for that. And I think the information here is just generally more accurate than it was because I've grown more familiar with the game since. Come to think of it, the video itself might actually be better overall than its predecessor, but I'm way too proud of that intro cinematic at the beginning of the first one that my position on it just cannot be moved. Number 15, ranking all 50 pots. Intro cinematic followed by useless drivel about an aspect of the game that's either underrated or has driven me completely up a fucking wall. Then the actual list, quick explanation about why number 1 is stupidly imbalanced to the point of driving me back down said fucking wall. Ending graphic, gunshots, some line from Metal Gear Rising. There you go, now you know how to make a Rusty video. I also used music from Parappa the Rapper in this video, and I honestly don't think a single person picked up on it. Those people have allowed themselves complete ignorance from one of history's most classic pieces of art, and you're lucky my next list idea doesn't involve ranking my own viewers. Number 14, ranking all 102 DLC weapons. You know, watching this back gives me some mixed feelings, perhaps even blended or whisked feelings, depending on what utensil I'm writing the script with. A smaller list almost certainly means it's gonna be more accurate and contains less holes than the big boy lists. But this also means less production value, less algorithm staying power, and therefore a measurably shittier Christmas for my entire family. I can't decide if people enjoyed this one more or not. A lore-centric Rusty short at the beginning certainly would have helped out, maybe, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm still kinda writing that story in my head, and I don't really know where it should go from the place I've taken it yet, so that idea might have to just sit its tight ass in the waiting room for a few more months. Great Katana is apparently chief shithead of Bitch River, and I shouldn't have declared war on it as early as I did. Number 13, ranking all 64 spirit summons. Honestly, that other spirit summons video from way back when just needs to be delisted or something. It served its purpose, true and well, and I have no further use for its existence. In case no one has caught on yet, the way I devise certain rankings can give people some pretty dependable info on what my future moves might be. If I did an underrated list of 10 random spirit summons, there's probably gonna be a full list of them at some point. If I do a video ranking all the spell types based on the spells contained therein, there's probably going to be a full video of every single spell at some point in the future. I'm just not going to tell you when, because that wouldn't be fun. Also, don't let the organized timestamps fool you. These are newly added. I finally just got to a point where I think it would be easier on myself to add in all the shit that was missing from it, since I'm going back and rewatching almost all my old stuff anyways. Number 12, ranking all 69 shields. Watching these back, I've become really proud of some of my ad read transitions. I pride myself on my writing chops being at least decently sturdy half the time, kinda. And whenever the research or argument building may not always entirely be there, you can at least count on me to spin together tapestries of language so poetically entertaining that new fans of the channel are warned not to eat or drink anything during the video. Accompanying that with exhaustingly over-prepared graphics that detail the stats of each shield, like the fucking game doesn't tell you that already. I mean, honestly, they look nice, but like, what actually is the point of these if you really, like, think about it? If what I'm saying is selling you on a certain shield, and let's say you have the game open, you're of course going to read the stats of the shield in-game before equipping it just to make sure, right? Like, that's a completely normal and logical behavior. It's not like this is the only time you're ever going to see the numbers. False convenience aside, this was a great video, despite me not giving the rickety shield its due credit, even if said credit is immoderately minuscule. Number 11, 10 DLC enemies that piss me off. Whenever some degree of research or Excel sheets aren't involved in a video's production, the lack of stakes just result in a much funnier script. It pretty much has to. What else am I going to mindlessly mouth off to myself at 3 in the morning to fill the time? It'd be pretty disorienting if the first sentence talked about how much I hated curse blades, and the next one started walking you through how to apply for a fucking passport. Nope, the whole script is just 12 minutes of some of the stupidest, most hyperbolic descriptions I could think of, designed specifically to make people regret eating noodles without pausing the video first. This is the fun, easygoing part of Rusty that just wants to party with everyone. Write some funny sounding exaggerations and then go to sleep. Number 10, ranking all 88 unique skills. This was around the time people really started to become impressed with the amount of work put into these, even if 2 or 3 of the placements just happened to be so crammed with faulty research that the FromSoft team themselves would have to disguise a critique of it as a trailer for Elden Ring 2 just to undo the damage. Who gives a shit if I've technically ranked every single one of these in the video I just uploaded? I'm gonna do it again and even write completely different entries with completely new jokes and metaphors and exaggerations and all that shit. That way, when people accuse me of recycling jokes every so often, I don't even need to tell them to shut the fuck up anymore because I have my own entourage of public relations agents to do it for me. Number 9, ranking all 16 daggers. I love how you could just tell the exact point in time I began to accept the bet I made for myself, and then skipped over steps 2 through like 17 and just went straight to the endgame. This may not have been ground zero for the all weapons video, but it was the spark that catalyzed its future. That's kind of what ground zero is, Rusty, fucking idiot. It absolutely could have been easier, and in hindsight, more profitable, if I had just fired off video after video of each weapon category ranked individually, but doing so would have been tantamount to showing showing my hand completely, and the 3-hour-long in-game wouldn't nearly have been the jump scare Christmas gift that it was. This is arguably one of the most important lists I ever made, and I don't regret a single goddamn thing. Number 8, ranking all 79 shields. The DLC only offered up 10 new shields into the player's arsenal, which means this video didn't really diverge as heavily from the original shield video as I wanted, but what it did do, however, was make the stat graphics even cooler to the point where some of the highest rated comments directly draw attention to how much effort they all must have taken, which I vastly appreciate. It corrects my judgment on the rickety shield, it acknowledges the great 1.14 scything of all the great shields because FromSoft was finally forced to recognize the cancerous tumors festering on the fingerprint shield had reached critical mass, properly addressed why 1.14 didn't actually do anything to the fingerprint shield and instead just nerfed everything else, and judging by the feedback I got, it sounds like just about everyone agrees why it was bullshit. Rusty Premium just got its own premium account. If the quality gets up any further than this, some of these videos might have to come with their own browser. Number 7, ranking all 126 armor sets. I planned to upload this video right before the DLC as one of my final goodbyes to the base game, knowing full well I still have an Atlantic Ocean-sized wealth of content I've yet to tap into, and am promptly saving in my back pocket in case tragedy strikes or my house suddenly finds itself at the bottom of a landslide. Previously, I only ranked the armor sets based on fashion, which is highly subjective, based on individual personal taste, and whether or not your monitor even shows you certain colors correctly. But everybody knows how standard arithmetic works, making a more objective and measurable ranking of the armor sets not only a no-brainer, but also a slam fucking dunk. I'm even looking forward to the eventual ranking of all the base game and DLC armor sets at once because it means I get to contemptuously show off whatever I fucked with on the new stat graphic layouts. Maybe I'll add a 3D model of a book that turns a single page whenever I intro a new set. Goddamn, that actually sounds sexy as fuck. I might make that. I might tell my editor to make that. Shit, speaking of looking sexy, goddamn, I need to share my face presets at some point. Number 6, ranking every magic type. This isn't quite Rusty Premium, but it does contain all of the elements of a signature classic Rusty video back before I had an editor to throw half my to-do list at. It emanates this very specific don't give a fuck attitude while also very obviously giving a fuck about literally everything about how the video was presented. That intro cinematic advertising Raya Lucaria is still slick as hell, and I'm still not quite sure I've ever made anything like it since. The only downside is that you had to sit on your ass for 3.5 minutes for the video to actually start. But, well, this is how you build a reputation, folks. Number 5, ranking the 9 legendary armaments. I introduced to you Rusty Premium, and now I'm introducing to you Rusty 1.0. This video contained the very first lore cinematic that would eventually become a semi-regular occurrence in most of my longer videos. I started putting them in longer videos because I realized that was the only way people would care about them. It's Rusty, but it's not just Rusty. Labeling this as just Rusty insinuates a very particular derision that downplays the primordial soup of this channel's Elden Ring phase, and subsequently the exact moment in time where the primordial soup was no longer soup, but instead a style that was finally starting to be actualized. I just sound very comfortable in this delivery, and in hindsight, I think that's because a part of me just knew it was going to do well. That makes me sound more full of myself than a clogged toilet, and I emphatically, sincerely do not give a shit. Number 4, ranking bosses by how well they play chess. Remember 7 entries ago when I was talking about how my writing capabilities are enhanced drastically in proportion to how low the stakes are? Well, here you go. I present to you the single video with the most amount of recycled jokes in my rotation today. If you ever hear me vaguely measuring the distance something travels as being booted into the next zip code, this video is where that came from. Also, the unnecessary amount of attention I'm drawing to it likely means I won't ever be able to use that line again, so fucking wonderful. Good job, me. That backspace button is literally right there. You don't need to put that sentence in. You can just undo that mistake right now, but we all know you're gonna keep that in because you think self-sabotage is funny for some reason. Man, this bitch even has visual jokes peppered in with the usual stuff. I got to the point where I was talking about Ordovish trying to replace the chess pieces, and I was visibly stunned when I saw a clip of him smacking one of the foot soldiers and watching it turn into a rune bear. That's just not the type of shit we do anymore. Like, Jesus fuck, I need to step it up. You know when people say they wish they could go back in time and kick their own ass 3 years ago for making like a bad decision or something? Yeah, the me from 3 years ago would whoop my shit and pretzel knot a fence post around my neck. Number 3, ranking all 84 Spirit Ashes. I distinctly remember the directions I gave my editor while making this cinematic. I literally just told them, do whatever you want with it. This led to one of the best decisions I think I've ever made because Jesus of a shit, that intro was fucking perfect. And judging by the amount of negative comments, or I guess lack thereof, this might also be the closest I've ever come to an objectively correct list. Everyone was too busy either calling out the guest cameo from Miss Chalice, or they were laughing their tits off at how badly the guitars were mixed for the ending sequence. I see zero disagreements and I'm proud as fuck for that. Number 2, ranking all 308 weapons. Are you one of those weirdos who like falling asleep to my voice? Do you wish someone would put up a 3-hour-long compilation of my most baritone moments? No need, I've got you covered. 3 hours of unfiltered Rusty with no detriment to writing quality or asset making effort. Well, okay, there might be a little detriment. I think I accidentally retook some paragraphs from the Dagger video, fully intent on replacing them, but because I already had those lines typed out, they just served as easy placeholders, and I guess I just kind of forgot. This is also, I think, the only video I've ever made on the channel where timestamps just did not make a single difference. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. Putting all the timestamps in individually would not have been possible since YouTube's description has a 5,000 character limit, and even the guy that commented the full timestamps recommended using Control F just to find specific weapons. Like, holy shit. Inevitably, this video ended up trending for at least a couple weeks, and I got to be the recipient of said consequences one is open to when a video is trending. Specifically, the rapid decline in quality and intelligence from half the comments. Like, okay, I get that it's a taboo thing now for YouTubers to respond to certain types of comments, but like, this video was almost 3 hours long. It took nearly 5 months of production to make from start to finish. I know I ranked the Wing of Estelle a little low, but like, I think I've earned the right to tell this guy to just go fuck himself. Like, like I feel like I've earned that at least. Number 1, damn it, he's ranking the paintings. Ranking this one so absurdly high specifically because I know a handful of people will actually go back and watch it. So this is my attempt to directly drive traffic to one of my favorite videos on the channel. It's only 17 minutes long, and if you're a regular viewer, then that should be like warming up leftover rice. Really putting my expertise to good use here. Dropping total cataclysm bombs like Horizon Line and Diagonal Continuation, while not showing an ounce of sympathy or restraint by bad-mouthing my own alma mater and the systemic fuckfest in which it unashamedly benefits from. Because this isn't Rusty subtly telling you he got an art degree and found zero use for it. This is Rusty overtly and transparently telling you he got an art degree and found zero use for it. I even rank the rewards too. I leave you no room to complain by not only giving you a completely new insight into my own personal proficiencies, but I did that on top of giving you what you already came here for to begin with. Show me you're a true fan and watch this goddamn video. If I could quiz you over it afterwards, I probably would.